The snow was falling softly that morning, drifting across the quiet suburban street like a blanket trying to hide the world's pain, when a small, trembling voice cut through the silence and stopped Alden Hart in his tracks. He had just stepped outside to warm up his old pickup truck before taking his son to school when he saw her, a tiny figure no taller than his truck's hood, shivering at the edge of his driveway. Her eyes were wide, red-rimmed, and filled with a fear far too heavy for a child her age. And then she whispered it, those words that squeezed the air out of his chest and made him forget the cold entirely. "Sir, my mom didn't come home last night. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in humanity stepping up when the world turns dark, then please like this video, comment your thoughts, share it forward, and subscribe to our channel Kindness Chronicles. Your support reminds the world that compassion still matters." Alden stared at the little girl, unsure for a moment if his mind was playing tricks on him. He had seen her before, just once or twice, walking home with her mother from the bus stop. Her mother always seemed tired, always clutching grocery bags a little too tightly, always wearing a weary smile that said she was carrying more than she could admit. But this little girl, standing alone in the snow-filled morning, looked even more fragile. She hugged a thin backpack to her chest like it was the last piece of safety she had left. Alden called out gently, bending down a bit so he didn't tower over her. Inside the house, his 8-year-old son Theo watched from the window, his breath fogging the glass. But Alden didn't even sense the cold anymore. Something in the girl's eyes, something terrified and pleading, had reached into him in a way he couldn't ignore. Eventually, she managed to speak. Her name was Mira. She was 7. Her mom worked the late bakery shift across town, and she always came home before sunrise, always. But today Mira had woken up alone. The lights were still on, the bed was untouched, and when she stepped outside hoping her mother might be walking up the sidewalk late, she found only snow and silence. Alden felt something twist in his chest. He knew fear like that. When Theo's mother had died years earlier, he had felt lost in a world that kept moving even as his own had collapsed. He had sworn then that if he ever saw anyone drowning in that same helplessness, he would never walk away. Never. He told Theo to grab his coat and stay close. Then he gently asked Mira where her mom worked. She pointed toward the distant line of buildings on the far side of town, her small gloved hand shaking. She said she had waited outside the bakery earlier, but no one answered. No lights on, no sound. No one came out the back door either. She had walked home by herself, the snow soaking her shoes, until she found Alden's porch light glowing. The wind whipped around them as they walked through the neighborhood, leaving behind neat rows of peaceful homes that didn't match the storm building inside the little girl. They didn't take the truck right away because Mira kept insisting she needed to retrace her steps on foot. She wanted to show exactly where she had walked, where she had called out, where she had thought she heard her mother's voice. So Alden followed her through the snow, keeping Theo close beside him. The world around them was bright in the pale morning light, the sky muted and heavy, as if waiting. The farther they walked, the more Mira struggled to hold herself together. She wasn't a child used to asking for help, that much was clear. Every few steps she tried to swallow her tears, wiping them quickly as if she feared she'd be scolded for crying. Alden's heart clenched when he realized she had learned to hide her emotions, to stay small, quiet, unnoticed. He crouched beside her gently, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. She flinched at first, then slowly leaned into the comfort. He told her they would find out what had happened, that she wasn't alone anymore, and she nodded with a shaky breath. After almost 15 minutes of walking, they reached the bus stop near the local bakery district. The sidewalks were blanketed in fresh snowfall, untouched except for the tracks they were making. The bakery, where Mira's mom worked, sat silently across the empty street, its windows fogged over and the open at 5 a.m. sign hanging crookedly. Something felt wrong, deeply wrong. Alden told the kids to stay behind him as he approached the door. It was locked. The blinds inside were half drawn. But then he noticed something, faint footprints behind the building, partly covered by the morning's snowfall. Footprints that didn't look old. Someone had been there after sunrise, moving around the back entrance. He signaled for the children to follow carefully. Mira clutched Theo's hand tightly, her breath short and rapid. They rounded the corner to the alley behind the building, and that's when they saw it. A figure slumped beside the delivery entrance, half covered by fallen snow that looked as soft as powdered sugar. For a terrifying moment Mira screamed, breaking free from Alden's protective hold. But as they got closer, Alden saw the woman's fingers twitch weakly. Her mother, Leora, was alive though barely conscious. Her skin was pale, lips trembling from cold, and she looked exhausted to the bone. Alden immediately shrugged off his heavy coat and wrapped it around her before lifting her enough to feel her weight. She murmured something about collapsing after her shift, feeling dizzy, not wanting to scare her daughter by coming home late, so she'd tried to rest for a moment. But the cold had taken her strength and pinned her there. Mira dropped to her knees, crying into her mother's shoulder. Theo, despite being just a child, stood protectively nearby, his eyes wide but determined. Alden carefully helped Leora into his truck after running back to get it, and as the heater blasted warm air, she slowly regained strength. But her situation was clear. She was overworked, underpaid, and barely holding on. She had been trying to care for Mira alone, juggling 2 jobs, often skipping meals to make sure her daughter had enough. If this story touched your heart, or reminded you that compassion can change lives, please support this video by liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. Your engagement helps bring more real, human stories to light and inspires others to choose kindness. Before the ending, please comment below with the words, "Kindness changes lives." As the sun dipped lower that evening, casting long shadows across the snowy yard, Alden felt something settle gently inside him. Not certainty, not obligation, just quiet gratitude. He had followed a frightened little girl through the snow one cold morning, but she was the one who led him to a place he didn't realize he had been searching for. A place of connection, healing, and unexpected family. A place where kindness wasn't just an act. It was a bridge between broken pieces of life, stitching them back together one soft step at a time. And that simple, trembling voice he heard on that winter morning, "Sir, my mom didn't come home last night," became the start of a story that would change all of their lives forever.